Hi. Let's talk about Princess Nokia. New York MC made it big off of her 1992 deluxe album back in 2017. It was a fusion of East Coast hip-hop, trap, and boom bap that was a varied collection of songs that showed a lot of potential in her. While not having a definitive sound, she had a lot of character and a lot of things to say. Then she released a mixtape titled A Girl Cried Red, which saw a lot of mixed opinions, and I see why. It felt like she was sticking to one sound, but she wasn't really embellishing on that sound all that much. Either way, we have two new albums from her. Everything Sucks and Everything is Beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna start off with the first album, Everything is Beautiful. This album features 12 tracks and runs about 31 minutes. And the one problem that I find with this album in particular is the lyricism on this. While some songs like Sugar Honey Iced Tea and SOULFOOD ADOBO have some interesting lyrics, have some nice flow, as well as the conclusion, which is the last track on the album. Some songs on here have interesting wordplay, interesting lyricism. For the most part, the lyrics on this album range from decent to kind of strong. There are some songs in the track listing that can be improved, songs like Green Eggs and Ham and Heart. The latter of the two had a really good flow, but it's so short, it's so condensed. The production on this album can be varied as well. There are some interesting moments here and there. As this album suggests, a lot of these songs sound pretty pristine, boom bappy, with more of a neo-soul edge to them. Like, I'm definitely hearing a lot of Rode pianos and a lot of trap hi-hats, and they're incorporated in a nice way, but I think the one thing that needs to be divvied up a little bit is her flow across this entire album. Her flow gets kind of tedious through the first few moments of this album, within like the first 2 or 3 tracks. There are songs on this album that I'm surprised sound longer than they actually are, especially the song Wavy. The song Wavy is not even 3 minutes long, it feels like it's 5. Again, there needs to be some variety, there needs to be some kind of variation between these instrumentals and these flows. There are some moments on this album in particular that Princess Nokia comes off more like a no-name kind of character instead of her own character for some reason. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's kind of a glaring issue, especially on the song Gemini. Now, I actually want to talk about the last track on this album in particular because I think this is what the rest of the album should be. This track has some guitars that are very much soaked in reverb. There's some hi-hats that incorporate themselves into the mix, as well as some ambience too. And then Princess Nokia comes in, and she is spitting some of her best verses in a while. I turn my heartbreak to poetry when it shatters in pieces. Don't fall in love with the poet, they really are leeches. I'm just like Zero from Holes, a foster kid, and it shows. And I make fun of my woes, cause I be doped up on hope. I love writing poetry and I love acting stupid. I take my experiences and I go out and do it. And find it in your heart to listen to the words and rhythm and excerpts from my diary that were my mental prison. Again, a lot of what she's saying on this song in particular is really good. I just wish this same level of lyricism was across this entire album. So overall, this album isn't terrible. It has its moments, it has its flaws. It definitely needs to be worked on a lot longer. There are some great ideas on this album, but overall, it's a very light C+. Now we're going to be moving on to the sister album, Everything Sucks. And to kind of preface this review, yeah, this one is definitely quite worse than the last one. It's 10 tracks long, 24 minutes total. It feels like it's the same length as the first album for some reason. Basically, this is like another persona that Princess Nokia has, a more edgy, punked out persona that shows up on tracks like Harley Quinn and Crazy House and Welcome to the Circus. Quite frankly, all of the songs have this kind of Rico Nasty vibe to them, which is an interesting point to start off with. This album doesn't really feel like a Princess Nokia album, it kind of feels like a Rico Nasty ripoff for some reason. Like, I get the no-name influences on the first album, but I'm getting like Rico Nasty worship on this album. The demeanor, the flow, the trap influences, it all just sounds like something Rico Nasty would do 10 times better. Now, unlike the first album, The production on this album is quite worse as well. However, I would say the lyricism is a little more varied compared to the last album. She's not skating by repeating verses over and over and over again, but the production of this album makes it worse. I just get really bored listening to this album all the way through. There are songs on this album that don't sound bad, like Harley Quinn. As the aggression and the energy actually plays out in this song, it does not feel like a knockoff. It feels like Princess Nokia is really coming in her own. It is a little corny, it is a little cheesy, but it's not as corny and cheesy as some of the other songs on this album, like the song Welcome to the Circus or Practice. Two tracks that I very much skipped through while listening to this album. They're just not that good. Speaking of Welcome to the Circus and Fee Fi Fo, these songs are 1 minute 56 seconds each, but they feel like they go on forever, which is a problem throughout this entire album. The production lags all the time. Maybe with the exception of the song Gross, but yeah, this album just is very slow, very monotonous, very tedious. Even with Princess Nokia herself having very fast-paced verses, there's no saving this album from the stale, boring production that it has. Similar to the first album, you have the song Just a Kid, which ends the album off. It is a 3-minute track detailing her childhood and growing up as an orphan in the foster care system. Something that I would be very interested in, but her flow on this song is so boring. Oh my god, it reminds me of like Kid Cudi and a lot of the verses on Speeding Bullet to Heaven, but his vocal delivery was just so subpar. This just reminds me of that so much. And Princess Nokia goes in detail on this song, like a lot, but it's just bogged down by the simple production and the basic flow that she does throughout this entire song. She told me to lie and said that I had fell. Damn, I got marks on my face. Disassociate, my thoughts go erased. Numb in my soul, I feel so out of place. Sure, the rhyme scheme might be a little rudimentary, but it still shows a lot of character nonetheless. At the end of the day, I was not feeling this album as much as the first album. This is easily the weaker album of the two. It gets a C-, and that's about it. If she finds her own style and her own character, I definitely think she has a lot of potential. But as of now, I'm not really seeing it all that much. The production needs to be beefed up a lot more. I think the songwriting is good, I just think it needs to be tweaked up a little bit, and her flow needs to change. Her flow does not need to be this boring. It does not need to be this boring at all. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about these two projects. Pretty underwhelming in all honesty. Yeah, but that's about it. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on these albums down below. Let me know what albums you want me to review next. That is it. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below. Remember, it normally doesn't rain in Southern California,